Hey, everybody. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we are. Today is October 2nd, and October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Okay, and I have decided that it is my mission. I haven't decided, but I feel like it is my mission, it's my purpose to break the silence. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what is domestic abuse, domestic violence, what is it and what does it look like? So, because, and the reason is because so many people are in an abusive relationship and don't even know it. They don't recognize that it's abuse. They don't know what to call it. They know something's wrong. They just don't know. They don't know what to say. They don't know what words to put to it. So I'm just going to outline some things to look for, things that you may not realize are abusive, but actually are. And at the end, I'll give you some resources on what to do, how to get out, how to get help, and how to recover and thrive afterwards. So, yeah, I just want to shed some light. So, basically, we want to know what is abuse. But so not even just domestic abuse, but just what is abuse in general. So abuse is the improper use of something to gain a benefit in a manner in which it was not originally intended. And with domestic abuse is takes it a step further, but this abuse um, to gain that benefit it often causes harm and damage. So domestic abuse is a pattern of behaviors within a relationship that are abusive, and over time it tears a person down into nothing. And as I'm about to outline here in just a minute. So domestic abuse, intimate partner violence, intimate partner abuse, domestic violence, these words are interchangeable. So you may hear it said one way here and another way here, but they're all the same. We're talking about the same thing. And there's different forms of abuse. There's physical, emotional, mental, sexual, financial, and spiritual, and that's different dimensions of our life. um, I follow a wheel, a wellness wheel, and we have different dimensions of wellness. You got physical, we got emotional, you got sexual, you got spiritual, all those different dimensions. So these are abuses on the dimensions of your wellness. So rarely are you going to find only one form of abuse. Typically they overlap and they coincide. And I want you to know that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 7 men will experience domestic violence and intimate partner violence in their lifetime. That's a lot. If you had to do the math, that's a lot of people. Um, and notice that I said 1 in 7 men because men are victim survivors of domestic violence as well. It does not just women. And the whole purpose of domestic violence, domestic abuse, is power and control. That is their MO. That's what they want is power and control. And so everything that they do, that's their underlying theme is to gain power and control. And so they use the methods that I'm about to outline to get there. It's what they do. They all do this. So here we go. The methods they use are gaslighting and crazy making. And gaslighting and crazy making are those terms also are interchangeable, but it's where they create an alternate reality using deception and manipulation to make you question your own reality and insanity. And they'll say things like, "Well, that didn't happen," or "Don't you remember?" Like they'll say something that happened, and then or they'll make something up that happened and then ask you if you remember, and you're like, no, I don't even remember that, and so you end up questioning. um, or they'll say things like, you sound crazy, or I never said that. They might move things around the house and then make you think that you've lost your mind, or they'll make things appear, they'll put something out and tell you it's always been there, or they'll hide something, take something away, and then they don't know what you're talking about. So um, or say things and do things the whole point is to alter your perception. And because if you can't trust yourself, because that's what it's doing, it's making you question your sanity. Did I really say that? Didn't that really happen? Or I don't remember that at all. There's no way that that happened. Um, so if you can't trust yourself, then how do you even know it's real anymore? And so that's the whole point of the gaslighting and the crazy making, is to make you feel like you are losing your mind. And you will really believe that you're crazy because they're so convincing in what they're saying and what they're doing. It's they're they're really good at what they do. All right, so and they'll also make you believe that the way that they're treating you is normal and acceptable, also making you feel like you're crazy because you again can't trust your feelings. You can't trust your gut instinct. You know this is wrong, but they're saying it's right. Um and so again, just uh very confusing. They'll so insults, another tactic. They're degrading your identity and your personality, pointing out your flaws and your physical flaws, and even if it's in a nice way, but it's repeated, and um, so it may not seem like an insult, but they're constantly pointing out things that are wrong with you. Then there's public humiliation, putting you down in front of other people, putting you down even if it's not in front of people, just putting you down and insulting you. And what this does is ultimately it destroys your self-image and your self-worth. The blame game, spinning things around to make you feel like you're the guilty one. So, and then claiming that you made them abuse you, and then they'll deny responsibility and saying that you're overreacting. All of these things is like you'll go to a conversation knowing that you're going to pin it down this time. You have a problem, they've treated you a certain way. You go to them to talk to them about it, and you walk away from the conversation with your tail between your legs, apologizing to them and feeling guilty. When you were taking something to them that they are guilty of, but they spin it around so effectively that you end up taking the blame for it. And then they're free to go. They're off the hook. They're very dominant. So they express this gender role, and they get to decide what those gender roles are. And especially within religion, they'll say things like, I'm the king of the castle. And they have that mentality of the king of the castle and having the slave master relationship. And they'll control who you talk to, where you go, when you do things, how you do things, what to say, how to think, how to feel, opinions you should have, what you are and are not allowed to do, say, think, or feel. And I use this term shoulding. They'll should on you, which is what I said. That telling you how you should feel, how you shouldn't feel, how what you should say, what you shouldn't say. So they may be very overt in yes you can, no you can't, or they may be very subtle with the no you should, no you shouldn't. Those kinds of things, and that is really confusing as well. Hypocrisy and bigotry. Oh my gosh. So when we're talking, and I'm going to talk about spiritual abuse in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead and just say yes, hypocrisy and bigotry, they can do things but you can't. um you must agree with them on everything or you're in the wrong, and they'll force their beliefs on you and others. um on the other side. Yeah, awesome. um yeah, they'll force their beliefs on you and others. It's not always just the person in the relationship. A lot of times they can do this on with other people too. It's just that the partner is the one that usually gets the brunt of it. And they also live by standards that they make you and others live up to, or they don't live by the standards they make you and others live up to. Excuse me. So again, they're very hypocritical, and they want you have to believe what they believe, or you're wrong. Just wanted to stress that again. Threats, coercion, and intimidation. This can be this. Oh God, there's so many ways to say this, but threatening and or carrying out threats in order to harm you. So you, your loved ones, themselves, and if you don't comply with their demands, or if you leave them, or if you charge them, they may act out on these threats. And again, notice I said they can even threaten themselves to control you. So it's not always on you, it can be towards themselves. And forcing you to do illegal things, and then if you threaten to report them, or if you stray from them, they'll there's the threat and intimidation as well. And they'll threaten to report you if you do these illegal things. So they create this whole crazy scenario where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. All right, and then destroying. Slow down. Oh, I'm sorry. So destroying property as a display of power, punching walls, even if they don't make a hole, if they're punching, if they're throwing, if they're kicking, um, any of these displays of physical power and strength, any of that is physical violence, even if they don't lay a hand on you. Okay, and this is as a consequence for your disobedience or your disrespect or anything that they see as unfit. Anything where you are standing up for yourself or speaking up or doing your own thing, anything that they don't like, and they display this power. They may destroy or remove personal things, personal items from the home, things that have value to you. They don't have value to them, and they'll get rid of them. And they use that as a way to hurt your feelings or try and get you to placate them so that they don't do it, but they're going to do it anyway. But that's kind of their MO. Harming and abusing pets and children. Pets are often used as a means for this physical force and this power and control because, excuse me, we care a lot about our pets, and they know that, and they don't have the same empathy, they don't have that same connection with the pets that we do, and they know that they can use them, they're a pawn to them. They will go into fits of rage and angry tirades, yelling, screaming, throwing expletives around during these fits of rage, throwing objects, punching walls and doors, like I had mentioned, and breaking property, breaking chairs, um, anything that they can get their hands on. And again, this may not be towards your physical body, but it's still physical violence. I just want to make that clear. Stalking is another one. Following you without you knowing, to watch where you are and go with you, or even following you and you know it, you've told them not to, but they do it anyway. And so following you against your will. Now, here's a big one, and I just wrote a book about this one, rape and sexual coercion. Y'all, before I say anything else, I want you to understand that rape, sexual abuse is physical abuse. I don't, just because other people can't see it does not mean that it's not physical abuse. And it took me a long time to understand that and own that actually. But forcing you to do things sexually that you don't want to do, that is sexual abuse. Using gender roles to pressure you to have sex when you don't want to, or even if you physically can't and they still pressure you, such as like if you're sick or you're injured and they still make you do it, or some form of sexual engagement, even if it's not intercourse, some form of sexual engagement that you can't or don't want to do, using guilt and shame to pressure you into sex, taking unwanted pictures of you and videos of your body during sex or at any time. Um, so creating kind of a pornographic situation, not taking no for an answer, and using violence to force you to have sex. Again, marital rape is a thing. It really does happen, and it is these same circumstances. If no is not an option, If you can't get away from it and it's forced on you anyway, even if you can't say no, but you feel like you have to say yes, that's coercion, and that is marital rape. And sexual abuse, those things are physical abuse. Then depriving you of sleep, another form of physical abuse, because this has to do with your body. So waking you up for sex on a regular basis. Once in a while, I mean, that's normal, but as a pattern, remember these are patterns. Okay, this is not just a one time thing, these are patterns. Waking you up for sex on a regular basis, getting angry when you fall asleep and then waking you up, startling you to wake you up on a regular basis, waking you up as soon as you fall asleep, making noise in the room to keep you from sleeping, crushing a water bottle by your head, or running the vacuum, or talking really loudly on the phone in the same room, like in the bedroom if you're asleep, turning lights on in your eyes to wake you up, calling you in the middle of the night. Like, so if you're not living together, if y'all are apart, like on a business trip or something, calling you in the middle of the night to wake you up. Controlling the money is another one. So, not giving you access to the bank account, or only allowing you a set amount of money, not paying bills, ruining your credit, getting furious when you overspend your allowance that they gave you, and then hypocritical spending. They can do whatever the heck they want to, but you are under restriction. You don't have the same rights that they do to the same money that they have. Um, so, very hypocritical in that sense. They will isolate you from loved ones and friends, never allowing you to be with other people alone, or very rarely, or constantly calling you while you're with those people, texting you, calling you, checking up on you, so that your attention is on them and not who you're with. That's the whole point of them doing that, is to take your attention off of who you're with and place it on them. Use a lot of jealousy to keep you isolated. The whole point is keep you isolated, because if you're with someone else, you're likely going to talk about your relationship if things are really bad. So they don't want you with other people so that you don't spill the beans, so that they can keep you under control. They'll eavesdrop on your calls, listening either from outside the door, the wall, whatever, or actually just being in the same room with you, but paying more attention to your conversation than whatever it is that they should be doing. Um, and they'll interject on the phone call. So let's say that you're on a phone call and then they're jumping in and telling you what you should say, going back to what I said a minute ago, telling you what you should say, think, feel, do, all those things. If you say something while you're on the phone with somebody and they don't like it, they'll either A, jump in then and try and mess with what you're saying. And like for me, I can't have somebody do that. I can't hear two people at the same time, or else I hear nothing. So they cancel each other out. And, or when you get off the phone, then you'll get berated for what you said, or grilled about what you said, or what you said wrong, or next time do this, or any of those kinds of things. And or they may not let you travel. So that's just it. They don't let you travel. You can't even go 30 minutes or an hour down the road without them. They may take your keys, or if you do, you'll pay the consequences for it later. And so you don't, because you don't want the consequence. So not letting you travel is another form of isolation. Let's see, what else is there on isolation? Um, yeah, just telling you need new friends, telling you that you're trying to turn your family against you, saying that your family or somebody or your friends said something that they didn't, or trying to misinterpret. If they control your account, they can make it impossible to call anyone. Exactly. So they're monitoring your phone calls, monitoring the account, on making sure that you can't call people. Exactly. Um, so yeah, telling you need new friends, or trying to turn them against you. Um, okay, so ooh, religion. Wow. So spiritual abuse is a tough one. So spiritual abuse can be used as a cornerstone tool to get everything else into place. And I know that because it happened. It happened to me. Spiritual abuse, um, especially for someone who is very strong in their faith, a lot of times faith can be something that is so important to a person that they don't want to jeopardize that relationship, that spiritual relationship, that they it's very, not that it's a weak spot, but I guess they use it as a weak spot. So they can take scripture out of context to oppress you. It doesn't matter what religion it is. This is any religion. They'll take scripture out of context to oppress you, and they'll leave out parts that would condemn them, and they'll use religious text to claim authority over you. So there are certain parts of the Bible that if you take it out of context, they'll use it to say that they are the head of the wife, or wives submit to their husbands. You have no rights to your body. Excuse me. All these things uh, have context. They have other parts. They have other sections, other words behind them that would condemn the abuser. Wives submit to their husbands, but husbands should love their wives as Christ loved the church, and they leave that part out. And as Christ laid down for his wife, and his whole purpose was to purify and make his wife, the bride, the church, make it pure. And the husbands don't want to. They leave that part out. They'll create traps that you can't get out of with words from religious texts, because they bury some truth within the lies, and they also bury lies within truth. And they'll blur those lines between right and wrong. And it's really hard when you're let's say you're in an argument, a heated argument, a heated debate or dispute, and you're already being oppressed. So it's scary to confront them, or your mind maybe has been shut down, and you're unable. Like for me, I would clam up, and I couldn't come up with the words to fight back. So I knew it was wrong. I knew that there something wasn't right, but I couldn't put my finger on it, couldn't pinpoint it. And so oftentimes you'll walk away from it later, and then you'll kind of dissect it and figure it out, but by then it's too late and you can't do anything about it. So these are some major red flags within a relationship, things that abusers do, and this is not all inclusive. These are just some really prominent red flags to look for. So what do you do? Okay, what do you do? First of all, we have to recognize the signs. We have to recognize that what we're in is abuse. God created everybody. God created everybody for a purpose. Okay, God loves his children, and he loves his daughters. He loves his sons. So it's more than just using the word children. We are his daughters. We are his sons. The men are his sons, and he did not design marriage to be a trap. He didn't design it to be torture. He didn't design you to be in that situation. So if you are in that situation, first you got to recognize that God loves you, and that is not his will for you. That is not his will for that institution. That's not why he designed it. He designed it to glorify him. And if that relationship is not glorifying him, then I'm sorry, but no, it's time to end. And so he loves his children more than he hates divorce. And if you're not married, if this is not a marriage situation, but it's in any other kind of relationship, it's the same thing. You are not tied to another person. You don't owe anyone anything that costs your life. You don't. And so you are free to go. You are free to get out. It's hard. And so a lot of times people will ask, well, why didn't she get out? Or why didn't he get out? Why not just leave? And here's the thing, it's not that simple. It's not. Because of those patterns of behaviors, sometimes sometimes there's no overt violence. Okay? Sometimes there's no overt violence and you don't even recognize that it's actually abuse, especially if you've never been exposed to abuse before. I had never that was not even in my realm of reality. I didn't even know what it looked like. So you have to that's what this month is all about. This is why I'm doing this so that you can recognize what it looks like. I just wrote a whole book and I'd love for you to pick it up. It's called You Think You Know, but You Have No Idea. And I outline everything that I'm talking about and I go even deeper in this book. You can look it up. It's on Amazon.com. And the whole thing with getting out is it takes a long time. It's a process. It's scary, especially if there's physical violence and you are afraid for your life. That makes it exponentially harder to get out, and you need help and you need a plan. It's not something you can just wake up one day and say, you know what, nope, I'm done. Especially if there's kids. What if there's kids involved? So there's so many different dynamics to someone getting out. And so what can we do? If if you know someone who is being abused, then the first thing you can do is listen to them. Listen to them, let them tell you their story, and don't judge them. don't don't project what you would do because it's not happening to you, or if it's not happening to you, don't project. Okay, don't tell them what they should do, what they shouldn't do. They know that, they get enough of that from their partner. Listen to them, encourage them, let them know that you're there for them and that you'll help them however you can. Even if you don't know how to do it, give them that encouragement, give them, be that safe place for them. um and then keep hold to that promise. Make that promise and then keep it. And rally a support system. It's it's a lot easier to get out if you have a support system. If you know where to go, if you have people that you know are going to they got your back. That's what we need. We need to know that people have our backs. So um just being there for them. The other part is pray for them. Pray for their courage, for their strength, for their peace, for wisdom. Pray for safety. Pray for the children if there are any. Pray for the support system itself. Okay? It, and again, here's another part is no one's going to leave until they're ready. You can't make someone leave an abusive relationship. So if they're enduring this abuse, be supportive while they're in it, because when they're ready they will leave. God forbid that it ends in death, and it does. That's the scary part is sometimes they never get ready. So there's a fine line between being supportive and making sure that they understand. So have those conversations, ask the questions, be supportive, and don't judge, don't condemn. Just show them that you're there for them. And watch for the red signs or for the red flags. If if someone is seeming like they are in imminent danger and really things are getting really hot, really scary, then you may have to take it a step further, call the police for them because they're not going to do it. But the thing is though is that's why these conversations are important to keep open, because you don't want to make things worse for them. And so the other thing is there's a National Domestic Violence Hotline. That's 1-800-799-7233. If you are in a domestic violence relationship and you need help, call that hotline. There are people there to support you, to direct you, to give you advice, to give you resources, and help you to get out, help you create an exit plan. Most places have local domestic violence shelters. Um, Call them. What I did is I called my local domestic violence shelter, and they directed me to an attorney who was a lifesaver. And it there are so there's resources and tools that they can give you. There's I want to bring your attention to two uh, um, charity charity organizations that I work with. I support Stand Up Survivor. The founder and I do a lot of back and forth. I talk to her every day, and I love her to death. And she is actually publishing my book. Lisa Nicole Alexander is publishing my book. And her website is standupsurvivor.com. She's also very active on Facebook. And their mission is to inspire, educate, and empower survivors to thrive after abuse. And they are very, very active on domestic violence awareness. Love them. And they also have tools and resources for you to have. Then there's I'm a mentor for the Domestic Abuse Survivor Help Dash. It's Dash is the acronym, and I'm a mentor with them. And their website is relationshipabuse-recovery.com. My website, loriannanewman.com, I have some other resources on there. Um, oh my gosh, I forgot. I was so busy talking about other things. Going back to what to do, document the abuse. Document. And there is a system called Victim's Voice app that is the only legally permissible system in court. So there's a lot of rules, laws, and policies that have to be met, conditions that have to be met in order for the documentation to be permissible in court. Victim's Voice is the only one that meets all of those rules, laws, and policies. So go to victimsvoice.app, and this is a tool I wish I had had. I used a period calendar to document my abuse, and if I had had Victim's Voice has just come out within the last year or two, and if I had had this system, it would have been a lot easier. There's stuff that I could have used in court, but you know what? My situation turned out actually better than most people's do. But Victim's Voice app, and you just check it out. Check it out. Then so documenting the abuse is very, very important to have documentation in the end, and also for for yourself to journal things and watch your patterns, watch the patterns that are unfolding. If something doesn't seem right, write it down. Even if you can't use it in any kind of legal proceedings later, doesn't matter. Write it down. Because what happens is we end up convincing ourselves that the abuse didn't happen. You end up you end up excusing it. You end up making it less than it really was in your head. And that is what ends up a lot of times making you stay longer than you should have, or I don't want to use the word should, but you could have gotten out sooner had you recognized it and owned it and called it for what it was. Whew. What else? Um, yeah, I'm sure I'm leaving a lot out, but my whole reason for talking today is to raise the awareness. After you get out, you need to get therapy, because a lot of domestic violence victims who become survivors are we have PTSD, and PTSD can be very crippling. It can destroy you if you don't get therapy for it. So please get help. Please get therapy. And I want you to realize that there is life after abuse. It is not a life sentence. You can change your life. You can start a new chapter. You can move forward in new peace and new hope. There is so much more to life than being a shell, being empty, not knowing, just trying to survive from day to day. There's so much more to life than that. That's not what you were created to do. So please talk to someone, get help, get out, and move forward. Again, my book, You Think You Know, but You Have No Idea. It's on Amazon. I'm going to warn you, there is a trigger warning for this book because it is very explicit and very detailed. So just be cautious of that. And yeah, and I'll have that in my hand in the next few days, actually. So if you have any comments, if I left anything out, please leave it in the comments, and reach out to me, reach out to Stand Up Survivor, reach out to Dash, call your domestic violence hotline, and there's tons of support out there. You just have to look for it. You just have to accept it. And I know it's scary. It is. It can be, but there's life. There's life after abuse, and it is amazing. It is amazing. You just have to make the choice. Make the choice, and if you need help getting out, let somebody know. Don't try to do it alone. All right. Anything else by the ones that are watching? Anything else? Did I leave anything out? Please tell me so I can speak up. Nobody? Okay. All right. Well, I love you all. Have a great day and take care. And remember, freedom lies on the other side of fear. It does. It is so powerful. Okay, love you. Bye bye.